Hi, I'm David Essel. I am super excited to share today some information that I hope is going to make a great difference in your life. And I'm going to talk about spirituality. You know, a lot of people may want to use the word religion, and that's fine. I look at them as being completely different and completely the same all the time. It's kind of interesting, isn't it? But I've been always going down deeper spiritual paths and deeper spiritual paths, which means that you have to put more time into it on a daily basis, right? That's what we do with anything. If we want to become in better shape, we have to put more time into fitness. If we want to become better at money management, we've got to probably hire someone to help us budgeting and all that stuff. So whatever we want to become better at, we've got to do more of. We have to practice more of. Many of you have been with me for a long time, and know what I have experienced in my family over the last several years with my mom and dad. First being incredibly ill and sick for 3 years, in hospice, both of them for 2 years, and then finally mom passed 2 years ago and dad passed a year ago. Through that experience, we have options in life. You know, we can go down the tube, as many of us do, in the process of grieving, and we can sort of get lost in the world of addiction or get lost in the world of depression, anxiety, PTSD when we lose someone so important to us. Or, you know, what some of us hopefully will start to do is start to look at these as opportunities to go deeper in our faith and deeper in believing in something greater than this world that we're in right now. Some people may disagree that there's another world out there, and I am never here to argue. I respect anyone who has a difference of opinion, and you'll never find me on your page arguing with you. But if people don't understand what I'm talking about or what I'm going to share, that's okay. If you want to comment below, comment below. If you resonate with these messages, share them. Our world is really in trouble. Our country is really in trouble. We've lost connection with each other, but maybe even more importantly, we've lost connection with ourselves. When you start to commit to a really deep spiritual or religious path, whatever you choose to do, believe it or not, you start to become more in touch with yourself. And what you might find are some of the things that I have found. You know, I've shared in the past that my mom has visited me 4 times, and she just did 2 nights, or was it last night, I guess. Last night she visited me again in a totally conscious state, and we had a conversation, and it was incredible. And when I am interviewed all the time on these topics, I tell people that, you know, we really do have to create what I term gateways to invite those who are on the other side to come back and to be with us and to guide us and talk to us, and that's what my message is today. So when you create gateways, you're opening up different avenues for the spiritual world, whether it could be a loved one who's passed over, it could be a spiritual figure or a religious figure, a saint, an angel, it could be whatever. And, you know, I happen to believe very deeply in the spiritual world. I believe completely in the world of angels. And you know, I use the word God, but I don't use the word God as simply someone sitting on a throne on a cloud, you know, having grapes popped into his mouth as he welcomes us to heaven. Whatever your vision of God is beautiful as long as it feels good to you. It's fantastic. And when it doesn't feel good to you or it's not serving you, look around. There's lots of people that might have different experiences. Several Saturdays ago, I do an early morning meditation, and sometimes not so early morning, depending on the day. But they usually are an hour and a half or so long, sometimes up to 2 hours. And a couple of Saturdays ago, I was in bed, I was going through the meditation, and all of a sudden I was just taken over. I mean, completely taken over. And I continued to get this message, and this message was so powerful, and this message was so real. And part of the message was, step aside, follow me, let me lead. Step aside, follow me, let me lead. Now, as I'm receiving these messages, they're coming through stronger and stronger and stronger. And then they ask me to become humble. Step aside, let me lead, follow you. Now, the humble part of it is really important because I'm a very strong personality. I have very strong opinions about a lot of things, and a lot of my opinions I share in appropriate places, not so much on social media, although I do at times share some pretty strong opinions. But So the word get humble really grabbed my attention. I was born a leader. I will always be a leader. And now I'm being asked in my meditation to step aside, to let me lead, and to be humble. Now, these messages continued to come through so many times. I was hysterically crying, the grace of crying, right? The gratitude of crying, the immense overwhelm that happens when you're in that state of spirit. You know, some people would say that the Holy Spirit took over me. Other people would say the inner God took over you. Other people could come up with something else. And whatever you believe happened, stay with whatever you believe. You know, I didn't know what happened, quite honestly. All I knew was that I was being guided in the deepest way ever. I don't normally step aside for anyone. Especially when I'm on a pathway of helping the world to heal. It's like I have such strong opinions, but this woke me up, and I have stepped aside. And in the last couple of weeks, I've been continuing to look in and continuing to do these meditations. And then today, I went back into the meditation. I went back into that most incredible space, and I again was asked to step aside. And again, I was asked to follow, and I did something differently this time. And I started asking questions. Who is guiding me? Who is talking to me? Who is this? Could you please let me know? When I do interviews, and I had one yesterday, I had no idea what the topic was. I tell my publicist, TJ, just tell me who the host is and send the link. It doesn't matter what they want to talk about. I'll talk about anything if I can help people. And I never do know what the topic is. And I never prepare because I never know what the topic is, so there's nothing to prepare. But this morning, I wanted to know who spoke through me yesterday, because I don't remember most of what I said. And that happens to me all the time. And, you know, someone might say, well, it's early signs of dementia, right? That you don't know what you said an hour ago. But this is very different, because while I'm speaking during these interviews, radio, TV, podcasts, I have no notes. I don't have a train of thought. I go from what I'm told to talk about to what I'm told to talk about to what I'm told to talk about. I don't think. I just allow it to be released. And people will call this being channeled, where that you are not in control. I'm especially not in control, even though I'm on a computer, on a Zoom, doing a podcast, but I'm not in control because I have no idea what's coming out of my mouth next. I was crying very hard this morning, and emotions may come up again right now during this video, because this is probably one of the most crucial things that I can share. I am going to keep asking more questions. You know, who is guiding me? Who is channeling through me? Who is speaking through me? I have probably 30 to 40 guides that I speak to every morning that are people from all over the world, that many of them have passed on. I also have the guide of Archangel Michael, Archangel Gabriel, Archangel Raphael, and Archangel Uriel. So I have a host of the most powerful archangels around me. There's so much that comes through me that I do really not know what the source is. Several weeks ago, I wrote a book that will be released soon, and it was written 6 hours on a Saturday, 6 hours on a Sunday without any notes at all. No outline. I tell people, don't ever write a book without an outline. That's insane. It'll never make sense. It'll be all over the place. And here I went against my own words. And the book was completely channeled. Completely. I want you to know that I am no different than you. I was not raised with any special gifts other than the willingness to work really hard on my spiritual path. I think that's the only gift I have, quite frankly, is that I've been really consistent for years and years. In the middle of my addiction to cocaine and alcohol, I meditated every day. I prayed every day. There's never been a time in all my years of being alive that there hasn't been a huge part, other than when I was 13 to 21. I walked away from religion, and that's because it was being forced down my throat, and I didn't agree or understand with a lot of it. My mom and dad did the best they could, and they ended up doing better than they could have ever imagined. but I had a slightly different path. Then I became really enthralled with all the religions of the world, and I became an all-faith minister. In all of this work, over all of these years, the one thing I will say is during the worst times of my life and during the best times of my life, we have our spiritual experiences that we can lean on. And I'm going to ask you, like what I did today, I said, where do you want me? Where do you want me to go? How can I help more people? What is my pathway? Like, I'm almost confused. I have so many gifts and I have so many interests and I want to help so many people, but I don't know where I'm going. Can you please show me the way? Within a moment, one of my most amazing guides, mentors, godlike individuals is Archangel Michael was in front of me. And behind him, as he turned around and he started moving, was this massive passageway with these almost like aspen trees making an archway over this huge tunnel, but it was an outdoor tunnel, right? And the leaves were shimmering gold and shimmering yellow. It was like, oh my God, a heavenly experience is all I can say. And that was an answer. Because you know what came out next in my mind? Step aside. Follow me. Be humble. And so some of my questions were answered today. Some of my questions that I am being led exactly where I'm supposed to be. Now, this is where faith comes into play, right? Faith is very hard when times are tough. Faith is very easy when times are great. Everyone has immense faith when times are great. But when you're not sure what your next step is and you don't know where to go and all you know is you have a huge desire to help people, but the doors aren't opening as quickly as you like, or doors are opening and shutting right in your face, it's really hard to keep that powerful sense of faith that I know I'm being led. I know and this is why I spend so much time in my spiritual world in these hour and a half to 2 hours every morning, because I know there are answers. And the mistake that I have made, and just to be flat honest with you, over the last 2 years is I have not asked enough questions from these guides, these angels. I haven't asked enough. And I'm just learning now. You know, a lot of times these experiences, like my mom visiting me last night, as vivid as can be, I called to her. I asked her to come to me. I told her I was in great pain. And it happens from time to time, even though it's been 2 years, and even though I really work hard on the grieving process, and I'd probably say 75% of the time, I just see my mom as pure grace, pure love, and I know she's always around me. But last night, it was hard. I don't know why. But I was in a lot of pain, and the pain was missing her. And it's okay, you know. It's okay to be in that kind of pain, because that pain is a form of love, believe it or not. When you miss someone that much, you're loving them. If you're in grief over a pet or a child, for God's sake, or a parent or a partner or a best friend or someone, you know, and you're sad and you're crying, it's love. I know that we might think it's sadness, but it's love. You know, like the tears in my face right now thinking of my mom last night, it's pure love. And I asked her to please come to me. I asked her to please come to me. And 2 to 3 minutes later, she came in this most beautiful vision that was much more than a vision. And we talked to each other. And I was crying like I am right now. And I was telling her, I don't know why today is so hard, Mom. I really don't know. But I'm missing you more than anything. And I'm really struggling. and I needed you to be here. And she looked at me and she said, honey, I'm so sorry that you're struggling. I came to let you know that I'm always with you. David, I am always with you. I believe anyone that wants to have these experiences, just like what I'm sharing, can. But I want to repeat something that I think is so important. If you want to lose 100 pounds, you can't think about losing 100 pounds. You have to do the work. If you want to have a deeper relationship with God, and I'm going to share you a text that came from my brother today that blew my mind, you have to do more work with God. If you want to have a stronger recovery from any addiction, from social media to video games to heroin, you have to put the time in. You have to put the effort in. If you want a deeper relationship with God, with your God, or your higher power, or your spiritual essence, or your oneness with the universe, or whatever words feel more comfortable to you, it probably will demand, if you want something more than you have right now, to put in more time. And then what I've just learned, and my God, I don't know why it's taken this long for me to learn this. I've been doing this for 45 years every day, is ask to be guided. Ask questions. And Ray Lynch just posted, Ray, I love you as well, my brother, and thank you so much for your message here right now. It means the world to me that you're taking the time and you're with me. It really means the world. And so I'm asking, where am I supposed to go? And Archangel Michael comes and shows me this pathway. So now I know that I'm on the right path, right? It's like you can read into this and understand from a human perspective, the highest level that we can, what the spiritual world is telling us. And I think it was a very powerful message to receive. Now, I mentioned earlier that, I've been a public speaker for over 40 years, and up until 1996, I used to write out my lectures. And in 1996, I was in Seattle, Washington, talking to a group of 500 people that had paid to come and see me speak at the Kirkland Performing Arts Center. I remember it all. And this woman came up to me afterwards, and she said, David, you are so guided. You're channeled through. Why are you still writing your speeches out? You don't need to do that anymore. And from that day forward, I trusted her words, and she was right. And my speaking became 100 times better because I don't do the work. I open myself up to the words from the spiritual world to come through to the human world. And I was explaining this to my brother Terry today, who I love like a brother. That was a joke. And I said to him, these experiences are so incredible. I was channeled yesterday like I always am. I did an hour interview. I don't remember much of what I talked about. I don't hardly remember anything I talked about. I did a television interview on Friday. I barely remember what I talked. I said, I know I'm being channeled through, and we talked about it for a while. And I don't read the Bible very much. I mean, I'm a former pastor. I'm a current minister. I'll always be a minister, I follow my heart. I follow the guidance from within much more so than anything in the exterior world. But my brother is what a beautiful heart and soul. He ended up Googling it in the Bible. What I talked about, step aside, let me in, and wait till you see what he found. Proverbs 3.5 to 6. And if this doesn't blow your mind like it blew mine, I don't know what else I could say. Step aside and let God be God. Step aside and let God be God. You can decide for yourself what that means to you. I know what it means to me. And I know it's one of the most beautiful messages I've ever received in my life. I spoke yesterday on this show. I have so many desires, ladies and gentlemen, in life to be much more productive than I've ever been. I am hurt by racial inequality like I've never been hurt before. I see the struggles and it just rips my heart apart. I see the world of addiction getting deeper and bigger and deeper, and it literally rips me apart. And then I do what I always do. I look at the homeless, and my heart is so with them. And I look at all these marginalized parts of society that I'm talking about, and I'm drawn deeply to these people. And now the question, which I'll ask in my meditation tomorrow, is, where do you want me to begin? Which group? What direction? What city? I'll move. I'll leave. I'll do whatever you desire. Be humble. Step aside. Let me in. Follow me. Words that'll never be forgotten. I hope this message means something to you. I hope that the experiences that I'm having and sharing, I hope there's just one thing of everything that I'm sharing with you that maybe made sense to you, or I hope it might even inspire you to start reading more or start spending more time asking your guides questions, asking God questions, asking your higher power questions, asking, instead of being hamsters on a wheel, which many of us can turn into instantly, right? And all of a sudden 10, 20, 30 years go by and we're doing the same stuff. I don't think that's what we're meant to be doing. I think we're meant to evolve. And in the evolution, we become something we never thought we would become. I know in my path this has happened a million times. I have consistently followed. Now I remember when my mom and dad were alive, my dad would always say, would you please just get a job with insurance? Isn't that adorable? I mean, plus, they were raised in that era. They didn't know any entrepreneurs. They didn't know what the heck I was doing. And I've gone through hills and valleys like all other entrepreneurs. I've been on top of the mountain and I've been down in the valley. And my mom and dad supported the heck out of me. But every once in a while, my dad would say, can't you go back to the hospital that you were at? And which I only lasted 6 months because I just can't work for something like that, Can't you just go back and get insurance? Can't you go back and get a job? Can't you go back and get a 401k, And it's adorable now that they've passed. And I would just laugh and smile and say, Dad, thank you so much for your thoughts. But I really want you to consider deeply what we're talking about today. Follow your own path. When you open your heart and you ask where to go, you'll be led. You don't have to go anywhere but within inside yourself. That's probably one of the most beautiful things in the world. If you want a teacher, a mentor, a guide, or guru, absolutely. If you want to read more books on spirituality or how to get closer to God before you start your own path or before you start going deeper, absolutely. Do whatever is right for you. I have no idea what's right for you. I have no idea what's right for me. I just keep one foot in front of the other. I will tell you this, I'll never give up this morning practice. It has brought so much into my existence. And I want the same for you. I will still struggle. Probably in 4 or 6 years, I'll have nights like I did last night with my mom or my dad. I'll be in bed crying. And they will appear. And they will soothe me. And Archangel Michael will be there. And he will guide and protect me. And all the other saints and angels that I call by name every morning. They're with me every day. And I'm going to leave this thought with you. I learned this, how to create a mastermind of spiritual beings, believe it or not, through Napoleon Hill and his book, Think and Grow Rich, back in the early 80s or late 70s, first time I read the book. And he talked about a mental mastermind group. I had never heard about it before. And he talked about how he would call all of the most famous steel barons and all of the most famous inventors of the time that had already passed on, right? Presidents that had passed on. And he would call them every morning into his room. And he had, I think it was 12 of them. Interesting, right? 12 apostles, 12, kind of fascinating. And he would have them around a table and he would go, Mr. Lincoln, I'm struggling with this. What do you think? and he would get his answers. And that's how I began my spiritual mastermind group, was from Napoleon Hill's Mastermind Business Group. And I started it back then, and I've never stopped it. Now, I will tell you that there's been a huge difference, though. Number one is my mastermind group probably has 50 individuals in it. And I call each of them by name every morning. And I just added 2 more today. Someone's grandfather, who was an amazing man of God, an amazing preacher, an amazing teacher. He now is part of my group. And so think about that. Who are you drawn to in the spiritual world? Who are you drawn to in the religious world? Who would you like to be your guides? Because I honestly believe they're waiting for the knock on the door. They've been waiting for you to knock on their door. They've been waiting for you to reach out in your humility and say, I don't know what to do next. Could you please guide me? They're just waiting. And the more you talk to them, I believe you're going to start seeing changes. I believe you're going to start getting answers. I believe some of the pressure you're feeling right now could be instantly relieved. And you have nothing to lose. The worst that could happen is nothing. The best that could happen is a miracle. Let's go for the miracle. I'm David Essel. Have a beautiful day.